Thank you, and good afternoon. The first thing I should probably address is, why am I here? You're probably wondering the same thing. What is this guy doing standing here? I don't know who he is. The reason I'm here is really very simple. I've had enough. I've had enough of politicians year after year telling me that they care about the citizens of this state and they're going to do the right thing. I've had enough of politicians telling me that we, the average Minnesotan, are very important to them, and they're going to put our needs and interests above that of the rich and powerful of special interests. And then once these politicians are elected, somehow they suddenly forget all those promises. I think we all know that if you're wealthy, if you're well-connected, if you're part of the political elite, you can pretty much have an appointment with any of the top elected officials tomorrow, just by making a phone call. That has to change, because look where that has brought us. We are in a horrible economic turmoil, not just in this state, but in this entire country. And we have to do something about that, and I can do something about that. Now, I've lived in Minnesota most of my life, and I think Minnesota is the best state in the union. There's no question about that. But I don't think Minnesota has the best government in the union. Far from it. First thing I'm going to do as governor is call my agency managers into my office. And I'm going to tell them, we're going to start running the state office like a business. Now, when I was first given a program to manage at Hennepin County, that's what I told people. I'm going to run this like a business. And they said, no, you can't do that. We're civil servants. We're government employees. You can't run this like a business. Well, I did. The results of my doing that, in all my years, we have never been over budget. Many years, we were significantly under budget. Another thing we found out is we could provide the necessary services to clients with fewer employees than we had in the past, because we constantly sought to streamline and make more efficient the services we're offering. The other thing I found out about is that we weren't maximizing all the revenue streams that were available to us. After 1 year, I was able to more than double the revenue streams coming into our program. That's what we can do with Minnesota. Now let's talk a little bit about my number one thing. I mentioned before at the question and answer panel, my passion is jobs. I don't have to tell you what a serious situation we are in here with the state of Minnesota and in the entire country. And unfortunately, I think it's going to get worse. I think where we are right now is going to be looked at as the good old days in another year or two. We can change that. My proposal as governor, and something I will put all of my energy into, is to offer any startup business or any business relocating from another state that meets a very few simple requirements, no corporate income taxes for 10 years. They'll pay 0 corporate income taxes. Now we know that our current governor has cut corporate income taxes by just a slight rate, and in the long term, it'll probably help a little bit. But in this economic climate, we have to take overwhelming measures. So by doing this, we will attract a huge number of businesses into the state of Minnesota, and we will also see a large number of startup businesses in the state of Minnesota. What that means is within 2 years, we will have full employment in the state of Minnesota. We will be an oasis in the middle of this economic turmoil. And I think that other states will start looking at us and start copying us, and that's what we want. Because I don't want to be a citizen of just another state or of an average state. I want to be a citizen of the best state in the union. And I want other people to say, what are you guys doing there in Minnesota? Because it's working. We want to copy that. We want to follow your lead. So we will have full employment within 2 years. Second thing I wanted to talk about is education. I am in favor of all forms of education. Pre-kindergarten, K through 12, higher education. But for decades, we've been pumping more and more money into the educational system. And I think many of you are like me, you don't really think we're getting our money's worth. Far from it. Now, one of the things I do is I volunteer. I teach kids confirmation every Wednesday night. And I've seen over the years, I've done this for 20 years, I've seen over the years, I just am not impressed with the quality of education. Minnesota kids should be clear thinkers. They should have critical thinking skills. They should know a lot about history. They should be able to discuss things. And I'm afraid that our education system is letting them down. And it's not a problem that we can just pour more money into it. And personally, I don't believe in pouring more money into it. I think there's probably enough money available, but we need leadership. I'm not just going to tell my agency director for education, try and figure something out, work with these people. I'm going to be going out to the different school districts all over the state, but of course especially in the metropolitan area because that's where the most population is. I'm going to be sitting down with principals, with superintendents, with teachers, and also with students. And I'm going to tell them, I expect you to do better. I expect you to teach these kids. If there's something I can do, let me know. But I'm not giving you a blank check. I'm not offering to just pour more money into a bottomless hole. Part of the problem I found out with the manager is when you don't have expectations of people, they don't perform. I'm going to make sure that every school district in this state knows that their governor expects them to perform and expects them to teach the kids. And I want to see a higher graduation rate. And I want kids to come out of high school able to discuss intelligently the issues of our time, whether it's politics, or whether it's family issues, or whether it's sports. I want kids to be able to clearly be able to write their thoughts down and to talk about them. We're not doing that today. If you go out and talk with kids from private schools, and I'm not just talking about parochial schools here, if you talk about them, they have a different system. And I'm very impressed by that. And I know if any of you work for a public school system, you may not like what I'm about to say, but I am going to have people representing the public school system sit down with people who work with private schools and talk with them. And I want the private school people to say, hey, this is what we're doing, and it works very well for us. And I want the public school people to think about what they're saying. Because in the end, I don't care if public school administrators like me or not. What I care about is whether the kids are learning anything. Finally, I want to talk for just a minute about energy. Again, I had mentioned something during the question and answer session. And it's important enough that I want to repeat it. The future of There are some excellent candidates here. So I hope that come election day, regardless of whether or not your candidate won, you remember how much the Independence Party really means to this state. This state needs you, and it needs a viable, solid Independence Party. So please remember that when you go to the polls. I want to thank all of you for coming here today, and thank you very much for this time.